Work podcast. You're with your host, Julian Leahy. Today I'm joined by Craig Andrews from Allies for Me. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Julian, it's great to be here. Been looking forward to it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to play a game, and it is in the format of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Then we're going to talk all about Craig's business, Allies for Me. And Craig, I just want to let you know that you have 3 lifelines with this game. And if you're not sure, it is always good to use your lifelines entirely. So the lifelines are poll the audience, 50-50 split, which will contain the correct answer, or you have a kind of wild card where you've got 30 seconds to Google or yell at somebody in the room for help. Sound good?
That sounds good.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the first question, a 1995 documentary subtitled Hollywood Madam examines the rise and fall of what scandalous figure? Betty Page, Heidi Fleiss, Elizabeth Holmes, or Ruja Ignatova?
Heidi Fleiss.
Well, lock it in. You know that one. Correct. Well done. Off to a good start. Continuing on. In a V8 car engine, which of these components is arranged in a V-shaped pattern? Water pump, timing chain, cylinders, or radiator?
Cylinders.
Lock it in. All right, got off to a very good start. 2 in a row. Let's continue on. In Disney's Cinderella, what phrase enables the fairy godmother to turn a pumpkin into a carriage? Abracadabra, bibbidi bobbidi boo, open sesame, or hey presto?
I'm going to go abracadabra.
Now, don't forget, Craig, to use your lifelines if you're not sure. I don't want you crashing out immediately. You've got 3 lifelines. Do you want to do a 50-50 split?
Let's do a 50-50 split.
I just saved you. Or maybe I didn't. All right, so we've got left abracadabra or bibbidi bobbidi boo, and I kind of gave it away that your answer might not be correct.
So I'll stick with abracadabra.
You're going to stick with abracadabra. All right, I tried to save you. The correct answer is bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Really?
Never mind. You lost a chance at winning $1 million in funny money just for fun. Anyway, welcome to the show, Craig. Thanks for playing and being fun. And tell us about your near-death experience before we go any further.
So 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I went in the hospital and I was having trouble breathing. I had the Delta variant of COVID. And they admitted me. 11 days later, and I was fighting for 11 days to keep my oxygen up, and doing it successfully. And then one night they shot me full of morphine, and
that's not good.
No, it suppresses respiration. And they called my wife in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, we need to put your husband on the ventilator." And when they did, they said, "Oh, and by the way, he's going to die." And so that started kind of an interesting journey. 2 days later, I went into kidney failure.
Oh my God.
About a week later, my right lung collapsed. And all along, the doctors were saying that I would not make it.
So were you in an ICU unit once you're on the ventilator?
Yes. Yeah.
What are the chances? Do you know what the odds are that once you get that far with Delta or with COVID and you're on a ventilator, what are the chances of pulling through from there?
I was the first one to leave that ICU alive.
Wow. And how did you turn the corner and what,
Yeah, so I mean, and just kind of following up on the chances of making it alive, the doctors were always very clear with my wife. They said he's going to die. That's the outcome. They pulled her into a room and put my chart up on the wall and said prognosis, multiple organ failure leading to death. And so in terms of what allowed me to turn the corner, what allowed me to prevail, I would put it in three things that I credit it to. One is I believe it was a miracle. I believe God kind of yanked me by the back of the collar and yanked me off the ledge. Did a better job than you trying to save me from my bad answer on abracadabra. I guess I need to brush up on my Cinderella. So that's the first reason, is I think it was a miracle. The second reason is my wife was insistent on visiting me in the hospital. And the hospital was originally saying, no, you can't visit. We're not letting people in. And she said, no, I really insist. And, she eventually prevailed. And so she came in every day, and they gave her an hour a day. And she would sing to me, she'd pray over me, and she'd say words of encouragement. And I believe that was significant, that she was there. And the third reason is, and this may sound a little funny, but I think it had something to play in it, is I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps, and Marines are just harder to kill. It was a mental game. I think, there was very much, there was a lot of it that was very mental, continually fighting. So when I was checked out in I call it a dream state. That's just because I lack a better term for it. It's sort of a kind of a midway point between dreams and reality. And that's where I was hanging out for 6 weeks. And in those, I was constantly struggling, I was stuck, trying to get unstuck. It was a constant struggle of trying to prevail. And I think that was just me fighting to stay alive.
Wow. And Marines also have a very interesting approach to business, and one that seems to work. I mean, this is just my personal opinion, but, very much tackling problems in a way of solving them and not giving up and things like that. Tell us a little bit about Allies for you and your journey towards forming that, and why did you? What are the problems that you were looking to solve for people?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Allies for me, sorry, I always say
no worries.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. When I started, I was originally trying to make a marketing product that would help tech companies market their products better. And in the process of that, I had somebody. I was having lunch with somebody, and he said, "Can I, basically, can I pay you to help me with my marketing?" I was like, "Okay," and I had a couple things fall flat in the other things. So I was like, hey, this is great. Somebody wants to pay me money to do this.
But what were you doing that this person saw that seemed to be something you could help them with at that time?
So way back then, it was just SEO, search engine optimization. And that was still, it wasn't new, but it certainly wasn't mainstream. It was, it was before Mark Cuban got on, what's that, the Sharks, game, and, started asking everybody, hey, do you have your SEO in order? Which I always thought was a dumb question, on Shark Tank. It's like, yeah, that's, what's that mean? But yeah, so originally it was SEO. And then it grew into conversion optimization, and over time where we are now, we're doing sort of, full marketing strategies.
Interesting. And then, and this person, what were they? What sort of business were they doing, and what was the problems that they had that you immediately started working on?
So they sold hearing aids, and in the United States, most people have to buy their hearing aids. There's it's an expensive product, and and they had, I think, 54 retail locations, and they just needed help getting more business to them. And so they basically didn't have any web traffic to speak of. And, I started looking at it. I was like, well, you should be getting a lot more traffic. And we got their traffic up, we got their conversions or their leads up. And so that was the main area that we focused with them. We did a little bit of conversion optimization for them, just to start getting, for them to start getting more business, and it paid off.
Yeah, and the conversion stuff, leads me into sales funnels, and people either just don't have a sales funnel or they really don't know what they need to be doing. Do you want to just run through what are people doing wrong with the sales funnels? Why aren't they working? And what are some of the things that they need to have as elements of it?
So, a little bit of context here. We work exclusively with people that have high ticket products or services.
Okay.
And so that my answer is going to be a little bit different based on that. And so like hearing aids, those were $4,000 or $5,000 per ear, for a set of hearing aids. And so the problem I see with high ticket is people are too quickly asking for the money. They go from complete stranger to asking for the core purchase, and that's that's not realistic. I know somebody who they were trying to walk up to complete strangers and get them to sign $1.2 million contracts, and it's like, I'm sorry, people are going to be really, really cautious before they sign a contract that big, and even much, much smaller. And so a lot of the funnels or the sales processes, I think, just basically ignore human behavior.
Yeah, and the price thing is, unless you are doing something very kind of low ticket where the price is the feature, then you don't want to be doing that, do you? And somebody, if just say you are selling something that's $10,000, the same person that might be interested in that might also be interested in a smaller ticket product, and but it's much easier to sell. So is that part of the process, is having something on the front end to kind of identify the correct people and get a smaller commitment from them?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, and we would call it an irresistible first time offer. And the idea is, bring somebody into your world, get them kind of warmed up and, ready to make a purchase. And the way we structure those are, we want it to be an impulse purchase. So it's not just low ticket, it's impulse. That means the coins in the cushion of your couch, the money in your wallet, or the B2B equivalent of that. If anybody has to ask permission to spend that money, it's been priced too high. And so for B2B, we usually try to keep it below $500. And the reason for that is anybody with any decision-making authority in an organization can spend $500 without asking permission. They can spend $500 without any accountability. Nobody's going to hunt them down to see how they spent that money.
Interesting. And what does it do for kind of, I guess, what's the purpose of the first time offer on the front end in terms of building trust, and why is that important?
So when somebody's thinking about making a high ticket purchase, and we would start, typically around 10K as high ticket. When somebody's thinking about making that commitment, they, they have a lot of questions, and there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty. And so what we do is when we structure these little offers, these first time offers they have 4 or 5 deliverables, and in the process of doing those 4 or 5 deliverables, you solve at least one problem for them. And when you come shoulder to shoulder with somebody and solve a problem in their life, it causes the release of oxytocin in the body, and that's the hormone that bonds baby to mother. It's this magical hormone that just creates tight bonds. And when you solve a problem in somebody's life, you're releasing oxytocin in that system. And so that plays a heavy role in building trust.
Right. So I guess it's important to identify or break things down into problems, I guess, and prioritize, who is the audience that you're going after? What is the problem? And then I guess you want to go for the biggest problem. Would that be the way you would go about it, or the one that's most related to your high ticket offer?
Yeah. So let me give a few other ingredients. So it has to be an impulse purchase. It has to deliver disproportionate value to price. So if we're doing a B2B offer at $500, we want to deliver somewhere in the ballpark of $5,000 of value. You want to solve a problem. That's what we talked about. But you want to leave the big problems unsolved, because if you solve all their problems for that bargain price, they're not, they're going to thank you. They got a phenomenal deal, but they're not going to move forward and work with you. They're not going to buy your core offer. And so lastly, you want it to naturally lead to the next step. And so when you look at that, you start, when we're doing these, we're actually bundling in the things that knock out the small problems first. If you think about it, if somebody has a big problem in their life, there's probably a few smaller problems that you need to knock down first before you tackle the big problem.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, people, maybe they have been doing things a certain way and it's been working, and then maybe things have changed and they might be experiencing a slowdown. What do you tell people that are saying to you, look, the economy's tanked, things have slowed down? What would you tell those people?
I'd find a very nice way of saying that they're poor students of history. And, if you go back to the Great Depression in the United States, some of the companies that were founded then were Ocean Spray, Publix, grocery store. Those make sense because they were solving the problem of people were hungry and they were delivering a more efficient way of delivering food to people. But there was a couple other companies that were started in the Great Depression. One of them is the Walt Disney Company. And so during a time where people had no resources, nothing extra, a company that was purely based on entertainment was able to get started and has become a major company in the world. And so they started during the Great Depression. Another company that started was a company whose very first product was a audio generator for Walt Disney. You would know that company as Hewlett Packard or HP. And so, again, another massive company built, right in the middle of the Great Depression when everybody said they couldn't sell. And if we fast forward to the Great Recession, a little over a decade ago, few companies that were founded then were WhatsApp, Instagram, Slack, and Uber. So you can look at any period of depressed economies and you will see business being done. You will see new businesses being created. people don't stop buying because it's a recession or a tough economy. They still have needs. Those needs didn't go away. They're still there. They're just much more cautious about how they spend their money, which is all the more reason you need a first time offer, is it helps take some of that risk out for them.
Yeah, and you could argue that because of the extra fear, there's kind of more opportunities in targeting people because if you can address those fears, then they're going to be paying attention to what you're doing. Now, I've got a link in the description here for alliesforme.com/whenitworked, and tell us what we can expect if we head over there, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a couple gifts. If they fill out the form there, they will get a guide to help them build first time offers and avoid some of the mistakes we made. And they will also get 23 days access to our course on first time offers. And the reason we're limiting it to 23 days, we're not trying to be stingy, but we study human behavior, and we know that if you sign up for our free course, you'll never take it. And that's not our goal. We want this to change people's lives. And so we put a 23-day limit on it, and people, we see it in the analytics. When we do that, people come in, they consume the material, which is what we want.
Awesome. And, this stuff, learning how to write offers, it's a real game changer, and most people don't know how to do it. And I really recommend that it is something you need to learn, and it's going to increase your conversions on everywhere, whether you're doing paid ads, whether you're putting it on your content. There are things you need to know. So if you can get access to some good information and have a chat to Craig, I recommend you do it. So alliesforme.com/whenitworked. Head over there, have a look at what's going on there, and get access to that course because it's good info. Thanks for coming on, Craig.
Oh, thank you. It's been a delight.
No worries. Thanks for listening.